Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day, thanks in a large part to the help that we get from our pals at the VFS School of Game Design. Thank you, VFS. Now, today's rundown is dedicated to XX Drain XX. We don't know if the X's are silent, but he wanted a shout out, gets a shout out, and he's been watching us for years. Thank you so much, Drain. This rundown is all yours. It's official, the Pokemon franchise is coming to the Nintendo Switch, but not in the way you might be expecting. Earlier today, in a special Pokemon-themed Nintendo Direct presentation, Nintendo and Bandai Namco announced that the Wii U fighting game Pokmon Tournament is coming to the Switch. The new version is called Pokmon Tournament DX and will have extra fighters along with new multiplayer features like online ranked play, 3 vs 3 matches, and friend-only matches. Because this is the Switch, there will also be new local co-op modes. It's interesting that Nintendo is re-releasing another Wii U game on the Switch. They recently re-released Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the system, and this indicates that we could be seeing more ports of other popular Wii U titles like Super Smash Bros. And Xenoblade Chronicles X. Pokmon Tournament DX hits the Switch worldwide on September 22nd. This actually isn't the new Pokemon game that many were expecting to see. Nintendo is rumored to be working on a new Pokemon RPG for the Switch, codenamed Pokemon Stars, which would be the first entry in the main Pokemon series for a console ever. Hopefully we'll catch a look at that when E3 kicks off next week. Over on the 3DS, Nintendo has announced new Ultra versions of last year's Pokemon Sun and Moon featuring new Pokemon creatures and an alternate story. That arrives on the 3DS in November. If you can't wait until then, Nintendo is re-releasing the classic Pokemon games Gold and Silver, first released on the Game Boy Color in 1999, as virtual console titles on the 3DS. Those land in September. The Switch might be running into a few problems on the soccer field. EA Sports has officially unveiled FIFA 18, the next big entry in their Pro Soccer series and the first one for the Nintendo Switch. Here's the problem. Some of the features available on the PS4 and Xbox One versions will not be coming to the Switch version, including, most notably, the Journey story campaign. It looks like the Switch version will also not be compatible with EA's Frostbite game engine, which means it may not look as realistic. EA points out that the Switch version is technically a separate game and isn't even called FIFA 18. It has the more simple title, EA Sports FIFA, but that doesn't mean Switch owners won't be disappointed by the missing features. Given the huge popularity of the Switch, it's a little surprising that EA would release a watered-down version of their most popular franchise on the system. We'll have a better idea of what's included and not included after EA's E3 press conference next week. The new FIFA games hit the field on September 29th. It looks like the success of the Nintendo Switch overall hasn't halted Sony's progress in the game world. The tech giant has made a string of boastful announcements about the success of the PS4 a week ahead of their E3 press conference. First up, Sony has confirmed that the PS4 has now sold 60 million units worldwide, a figure that includes the launch model of the device as well as the more recent PS4 Slim and more powerful PS4 Pro. Speaking with Time Magazine, Sony Interactive Entertainment America president Shawn Layden says that the PS4 Pro has actually been more successful than they expected, with 1 in every 5 new PS4 sales being a PS4 Pro. He points out that this was a risky endeavor, releasing a more powerful version of a system halfway through its lifespan, so they're very happy it's paid off. Another big gamble that's paid off is the PlayStation VR. Sony says that the headset has now sold more than 1 million units worldwide, with 100,000 sold in the last 4 months. In the same interview with Time Magazine, Sony head of global sales Jim Ryan says that these numbers establish the PlayStation VR as a new game and entertainment medium and not just another fad. As for games themselves, Sony's newest IP, Horizon Zero Dawn, has sold 3.4 million copies worldwide, establishing it as a new long-term franchise for the company. This means you can expect sequels down the road, not to mention new DLC expansions, which could be announced as early as Sony's E3 press conference on Monday. And Sony has revealed a few other new bits of information that might leave gamers a little disappointed. In the same interview with Time Magazine, Shawn Layden was asked specifically about the Nintendo Switch. He praised the rival system, calling it a great success for Nintendo that the fan base has been waiting for, although he appears to have splashed cold water on the rumors that Sony is working on their own console handheld hybrid. He says that because their last handheld, the PlayStation Vita, was a failure in North America, a successor is unlikely. That's too bad because the Vita was a great machine. Finally, there's something else that might disappoint gamers. Jim Ryan has cast doubt on the idea of more backwards compatible titles coming to the PS4. He says that although Sony has re-released a handful of older games on the PlayStation Network, it's not something that most gamers make use of, so don't expect to see an entire library of backwards compatible titles like what Microsoft is doing on the Xbox One. And what might anger gamers even further, Ryan adds that he doesn't understand why anybody would even want to play older games. He was recently at a Gran Turismo event where he saw the original PS1 and PS2 games being played side by side with the more recent ones, and he thought the older games looked ancient. As you might expect, this statement has stirred up backlash, and it frankly seems a little out of touch. While it's true that many older PS1 games don't hold up as well today, that doesn't mean people don't want to revisit them. Hopefully Sony comes around on the backwards compatibility issue. Until then, I'll hang on to my original PlayStation. Apple is taking much bigger steps into the worlds of virtual reality and augmented reality, but some users are being left behind. Yesterday at their annual Worldwide Developers Conference, Apple announced loads of new hardware and software, including their new desktop operating system known as High Sierra. The coolest thing about the new OS is that it marks Apple's first big step into virtual reality. It's compatible with the HTC Vive headset and Steam VR platform, and Apple is including VR development tools that will allow other companies to make their VR content compatible as well. Apple is also making it easier for VR developers by releasing their first external graphics processing unit, or GPU, which is basically a big box that sits next to your computer and adds extra processing power. This will come in handy for developers who want to make their own VR games, although it won't arrive until spring 2018, a few months after High Sierra arrives this fall. Apple isn't just interested in virtual reality, they're also taking a bigger step into the world of augmented reality. Their new mobile operating system, iOS 11, will come with a new application called ARKit, which allows developers to create their own augmented reality games for the iPhone and iPad. Apple announced last year that they were investing heavily in augmented reality following the huge success of the AR game Pokemon Go, so expect to see more augmented reality content from Apple in the near future. Not everyone will be able to get in though. iOS 11 is switching to a more modern 64-bit computing architecture, which means any iPhone or iPad that can only run 32-bit software will be left behind. This includes basically any iOS gadget made before 2013, so if you want the new software, you'll need to buy a more recent device. To make matters worse, 32-bit apps will not work on iOS 11 either, which means developers will have to release updates if they want customers to be able to keep using them. Hopefully this doesn't cause too much confusion when iOS 11 rolls out this fall. Another iconic Japanese anime series is getting the Hollywood treatment. The late 90s anime TV series Cowboy Bebop, which spawned an entire franchise of manga tie-ins, video games, and even an animated movie, is being adapted into a new live-action American TV series. Tomorrow Studios, which is already working on a new TV series based on the Korean film Snowpiercer, has picked up the rights to make a new live-action show based on Cowboy Bebop, with Thor 2 and 3 movie writer Chris Yost working on the scripts. Like the anime, the new Cowboy Bebop will take place in a dystopian future and focus on a ragtag group of gritty space bounty hunters. Like many Japanese franchises, the original dealt with some pretty heavy philosophical themes, so hopefully they won't be watered down in the new American version. Hollywood doesn't exactly have the best track record when it comes to adapting beloved Japanese properties. The recent Ghost in the Shell remake bombed at the box office, and other adaptations like Dragon Ball and Speed Racer were poorly received as well. Cowboy Bebop is one of the few animes that I love, so I'm hoping the American version does it justice. That's it for our rundown today. If you want to learn more about game design, visit our friends at VFS.edu. We'll be back again tomorrow with a brand new rundown for you. In the meantime, watch some of our other content, and if you like it, hit subscribe, all right?